Hello and welcome to the lesson. In this lesson, I would like us to go through quadratic equations and specifically on the methods of solving any quadratic equation. Now we are going to use these methods: factorization, use of graphs, use of quadratic formula, and use of completing the square method. A quadratic is any expression of the form ax squared plus bx plus c, where a is not equivalent to 0. Let's go to the first method. This is method 1. Method 1, using the graphs. How do you use the graphs to solve a quadratic equation? Use the graph below to find where x squared plus 2x minus 3 is equals to 0. So this is the equation you're supposed to solve using the graph. So the first thing is to draw the graph. When you draw the graph using any suitable values, this is how you solve it using the graph. When the graph crosses the x-axis, I think you can observe from your graph, where does that curve cross the x-axis? You observe that it cuts the x-axis at 2 points. The first point is where we have -3 and 1. And therefore, the solution to this quadratic equation using graphical method is x is equals to -3. That is one point where the graph cuts the x-axis, and x is equals to 1. That is where the curve cuts the x-axis. So it cuts the x-axis at 2 different points. So these are the solutions. So that is how you work it out using the graph. Now let's go to method 2. And method 2 is where you use the factors or the factorization method. So consider this: x minus a multiplied by x minus b is equals to 0. How do you solve this? So we know that if you have two numbers, let's say c multiplied by d, and you get the solution to be 0, then what does it mean? It means that either c is equivalent to 0 or d is equivalent to 0. That is, c is equals to d is equals to 0. That is what it means when you're multiplying two numbers and you find the solution to be 0. Now therefore, when you consider this x minus a multiplied by x minus b is equals to 0, then we can say either x minus a is equivalent to 0 or x minus b is equivalent to 0. And if we take x minus a is equivalent to 0, x will be a. And when you take x minus b is equivalent to 0, you get x is equals to b. Now let's apply that, whatever you've learned there, to solve this equation. 3t minus t squared is equals to 0. So we begin by factorizing 3t minus t squared. T is common in both 3t and t squared. So factor out t, you get t into brackets 3 minus t is equals to 0. So here you're multiplying two numbers, t and 3 minus t. So therefore, it is either t is equivalent to 0 or 3t is equivalent to 0. And when 3 minus t is equivalent to 0, then t is equals to 3. So you have two solutions. So t is equivalent to 3 and t is equivalent to 0. So those are the solutions. Now, from there, we can extend and do another example. Solve x plus 6 multiplied by 2x minus 3 is equals to 0. You're getting the product of two numbers and the solution is 0. So therefore, x plus 6 is either 0 or 2x minus 3 is equivalent to 0. So when x plus 6 is equals to 0, then the value of x is equals to -6. And when 2x minus 3 is equals to 0, 2x is equals to 3. And therefore x is equivalent to 3 over 2. So these are the roots of the solution: x is equals to 6 or x is equals to 3 over 2. Now, we can also try another example here. Solve 5x squared plus 6x plus 1 is equals to 0 using factorization method. So to solve this one, I'll show you another method. You look for two numbers whose product is 5. Look at the coefficient of x squared is 5, and then look at this 1. So look for two numbers whose product is equals to 5 times 1, which is 5, and sum. When you add those two numbers, you'll get 6. You get 6, like that. So look for two numbers whose product is 5 times 1. You're getting 5 from the coefficient of x squared, and you're getting 1 from the constant there, 1. And then the sum should give 6. So which are these two numbers? When you multiply them, you get 5. And when you add them, you get 6. This is definitely 5 and 1. 5 and 1. So 5 times 1 is 5. 5 plus 1 is 6. So come and substitute them here. So you write these 5 x squared plus, now 6x, you write 6x using 5 and 1. So this will be 5x plus x, that is 6x. 5x plus x, that is 6x. Then plus 1 is equals to 0. So after doing that, you can see now we have only splitted 6x. 6x is there. We are writing that using 5 and 1. And then you can factorize 5x squared and 5x. What is common? 5x is common. So factorize, you get x plus, this will be 1. And then x and 1, what is common? 1 is common. So this will get x plus 1 is equals to 0. Let me repeat that. So in 5x plus 5x, in 5x squared plus 5x, what is common? 5x is common. Factorize that, get that. Then in x plus 1, 1 is common. So from here, 5x plus 1, write it like this, 5x plus 1 multiplied by x plus 1 is equals to 0. So again, here we are getting product of two numbers and the answer is 0. So what does it mean? It means that either 5x plus 1 is equivalent to 0. And if this is the case, x will be negative 1. This will be negative 1. Sorry, this will be negative 1 over 5. And then x plus 1 is equivalent to 0. Then x will be negative 1. So the solutions are these. So x is equals to 1, negative 1, and x is equals to negative 1 over 5. So that is the still factorization method. Now, sometimes you may be given a quadratic equation that is not written in the standard form. So like this example here, solve 4x squared plus 1 is equals to 5x. So in case you get this kind of a question, you have to make sure that it is in the standard form of a quadratic equation. And the standard form of a quadratic equation is this: ax squared plus bx plus c is equals to 0. So reorganize it. And when you reorganize that, you get 4x squared minus 5x plus 1 is equals to 0. You're simply bringing 5x to the left-hand side, the equation. Then from there, you factorize 4x squared minus 5x plus 1 is equals to 0. How did we come to this? Just reminding you, you're getting two numbers whose product is 4 times 1. So product is 4 times 1. Then sum is the coefficient of x, which is negative 5. So get two numbers whose product is 4 and the sum is negative 5. Which are these numbers? This is negative 4 and negative 1. Negative 4 and negative 1 is, if you multiply, you get 4. If you add, you get negative 5. So this is how it's done. So 4x squared. So you write negative 5x using negative 4 and negative 1. So this will be negative 5x will be negative 4x minus x, and plus 1 is equals to 0. So factorize between 4x squared minus 4. You have 4x. 4x is common. So you get x minus 1. Then minus x plus 1. What is common there? What is common? Minus 1 is common. So this would be x minus 1, like that, is equals to 0. So when you factorize this, you get 4x minus 1, and this is x minus 1. So just showing you how you arrive to this. Now you've seen how you arrive to that, and this one is equivalent to 0. So from there, you get 4x is equals to 0. 4x. So from there, you can proceed. You're getting the product of two numbers, that is 4x minus 1, and x minus 1 is equals to 0. So 4x minus 1 is equals to 0. So x will be 1 over 4. And then x minus 1 is equals to 0. You get x is equals to 1. So those are the two solutions that you get. So the two solutions are x is equals to 1 over 4 and x is equals to 1. So that is how you solve that kind of an equation in case it is not in the standard form of a quadratic equation. So the other method is the quadratic formula. We use the quadratic formula in case we are not able to factorize any quadratic equation. So here is the quadratic formula that you're going to use. We get the quadratic formula from the quadratic equation. So the formula is x is equals to negative b plus or minus b squared minus 4ac, square root of that, everything divided by 2a. Let us solve this equation using the quadratic formula. The first thing is to compare. So we are comparing the quadratic equation that you are given using the standard quadratic equation. And the reason how we are comparing is to extract a, b, and c. So a is equivalent to 2 if you compare that. So look at a is there 2. Then b is negative 5 is there. And c is equivalent to negative 1. Once we've done that, the only thing is now substituting. Where we have b, a, and c, we substitute. So substitute very well and make sure you watch the negatives. They can mess your workings. So make sure you're careful when you're substituting, and when you substitute and solve everything that is inside the bracket there under the square root sign, you get 25 plus 8, and this will give 5 plus the square root of 33, everything divided by 4. And 5, the reason why we have two answers is because when you get the square root, remember we get either positive or negative. So that is why we have two values of x. So the first one, you consider the positive, so 5 plus the square root of 33 divided by 4. And the other one, we consider the negative, 5 minus the square root of 33 divided by 4. When you work out these, you get the values of x as 2.69 and negative 0.19. That is correct to 2 decimal places. So that is how we use the quadratic formula, by simply comparing the terms of the equation given with the standard equation, that is the quadratic equation. We extract the values of a, b, and c and substitute them in the quadratic formula. Now the last method is the method of completing the square, and you're going to use the same example we used in solving using the quadratic formula. So solve 2x squared minus 5x minus 1 using the method of completing the square. Now step number 1, we ensure the coefficient of x squared is 1. And when you look at the coefficient of x squared, it is 2. So we make that to be 1. So we will start by dividing all through by 2 in order to make the coefficient of x squared to be 1. And this will give, we'll get x squared minus 5 over 2x minus a half. That is what you get, is equals to 0. Then once you've done that, we take negative a half to the right hand side. So we shall have x squared minus 5 over 2x is equals to a half. When you take negative a half to the right hand side, you get positive a half. Then from here, from there we add half the coefficient of x, then you square that to both sides. This is what I mean. So x squared minus 5 over 2x. Then we add half multiplied by the coefficient of x. The coefficient of x is negative 5 over 2, like that, and we square that. We do that to both sides. So also the right hand side, we do the same, half times the coefficient of x squared, then we square that. So this will give x squared minus 5 over 2x plus, this will be 25 over 16 is equals to a half plus 25 over 16. You will get 33 divided by 16. So the other step we're going to do from there, we factorize the left hand side. Factorize the left hand side. When you factorize the left hand side, that is where we have x squared minus 5 over 2x plus 25 over 16. This is what you get. You will get x minus, factorizing that, this will be 5. You can see 25 over 16, the square root of that is 5 over 4 squared. So let me repeat this. When you factorize x squared minus 5x plus 25 over 16, you get x minus 5 over 4 squared is equivalent to, remember the right hand side, we have 33 divided by 16. So once we've done that, remember we are solving for x. Now we have x minus 5 over 4 squared. So we get the square root of both sides. When you get the square root of x minus 5 over 4 squared, you get x minus 5 over 4. And then you get the square root of 33 over 16. So this will give x minus 5 over 4 is equals to, the square root of 33 will either give plus or minus 33. Then the square root of 16 will get it as 4. So after that, now we have two values of x because of getting the square root. Of course, x will be, if you take negative 5 over 4 to the right hand side, you get it as 5 plus, considering the positive in the root of 33. So root of 33 divided by 4, or you can have it as x is equals to 5 minus, if you consider the negative in the root of 33, everything divided by 4. So that is simply how you're supposed to do it. And when you work it out, you realize you get the same solutions as you got here using the quadratic formula. So the first one will be 2.69. So this will be, x will be 2.69. And also the other one will still be the same, negative 0.19. So that is how you're supposed to solve a quadratic equation using the 4 methods.